It got so
The more
quiet.
quiet we are, the more pressure it puts on.
I know, that's, do you think it's quiet, that means she'll come sit down? She's coming.
We
Okay.
should probably all applause.
Yeah. You take a bow?
It's only my second tardy. I don't think I get detention
Yeah, I'm
for
not
three
gonna-
tardies.
I won't throw stones for that.
Okay. Thank you so much to everyone for coming. We will call the meeting to order at 6:07, and will you please join me to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kimberly? Yes.
So Kristen is a teacher here at LECC. She works with our youngest kiddos who attend here in our toddler program. So she works with our 2-year-olds.
She's also a member of our leadership team, and she really helps in so many ways with our building and our program.
She is a highly requested teacher every year. So we have parents that come in saying, we want Miss Kristen, we want our kiddo to be in the bear room. She's been amazing.
She is the perfect teacher for that first year of school where children are unsure. They're coming to learn what it's like to be at school. They're separating from their caregivers for the first time, and Kristen just provides them with a nurturing, calm, caring, and soothing environment.
Her connection with students and families is very genuine.
She builds a great rapport with her students, kind of reads what they need, if they need hugs, if they need love, if they just need space to run.
And she really believes in the process of play. So she's so child-centered, but she also connects with their parents and the families in the program.
Kristen means a lot to the staff. She's one of our seasoned toddler teachers. She taught at one of the Ladue elementary schools, so she brought a lot of experience and knowledge with her when she came here.
I personally I took a 10-year break from teaching, and Kristen was a mentor to me and still is every step of the way.
She's kind of the resident IT expert, which is great for people like me. She's a great baker. So like Valentine's Day and all the staff meetings, she always has something delicious that she made. Just always happy, always enthusiastic to be here.
She deserves this honor because she is so child-centered. She is so positive. She is so organized, and she works so well with not only the children, but the staff.
She is there for any kind of parenting support, advice, resources.
I think she's left an impression on all of us. She's just a great, respected, reliable staff member.
The Excellence in Education Award is something that I really value when I'm honoring a staff member. And I thought about Kristen for this because she's done so much for our school. Specifically this school year, she wrote a LEF grant. So for her to take the time to do that really meant a lot to me, and I cannot thank Kristen enough for writing that grant, and also thank the LEF for approving the grant. That's why I felt like she deserved the Excellence in Education Award this year.
Kristen, I am so proud of all the work you've done at LECC. Thank you for all you do for the families, for the kids, and for the program.
Kristen, you were born to be a teacher, and you just bring such warmth, great feelings to our toddler hallway and to our program. You are very deserving of this award.
Congratulations, Kristen. It's been such a fun year with you, and it's just been a joy to work with you and get to know you better.
Kristen, I am so honored to recognize you for the Excellence in Education Award. You are so deserving of it. I thank you for all of your years here at LECC. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for all that you bring to your students. I thank you for your caring and nurturing personality. And I just can't thank you enough for being one of our toddler teachers here. You deserve this. create an enriching experience for her learners. Recently, Kristen took the initiative to enhance the toddler playground by writing an LEF grant for additional equipment. She understands that having the right materials and resources is essential for fostering an exciting and engaging learning environment. Through her efforts, Kristen demonstrates her commitment to providing a high-quality education and enriching experiences for her students, reinforcing the importance of learning through play. Thank you so much, Kristen. Take it out.
We'd like to invite her family to join her to take a few photos. Her entire family. And now her LECC family. Family and friends, come on. And now, Kristen, we'd like to invite you to say a few words if you like.
I get to hold it.
Family, yeah.
Okay, hi. As I look around this room, I see so many teachers who have helped shaped me into the teacher that I have become. My husband and my kids and my parents are all here tonight. And I want to thank them for teaching me the value of kindness, love, support, and of course, the importance of having a sense of humor. To my teammates and Stacy and Debbie, and I see Chris Schreiner's here tonight, as well as some of my Reed friends as well. And I want to thank you for teaching me the value that I have in the classroom and the ability that I have to build a community within it. And to our most important teachers, our students, I want to thank them for teaching me the value that play has in our everyday learning. So, as one of our favorite teachers has said, Mr. Rogers, he says, play is often talked about as if it were the relief from some serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. So, I thank you for this honor of this recognition, and thank you for allowing me the joy to come and play at work each day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. That was beautiful. Beautifully said. Okay. I just have a couple of little things. First, I want to thank everyone in the community for your patience with our snow days. I'm sure Dr. Ripke is going to say that too, but we, it was a rough go there for a little bit, very long weekend, but we appreciate the community's patience while we, our first priority is keeping everybody safe. So thank you for giving us the latitude to do that and to make sure that our facilities and our staff are ready to go. I am so thrilled to see so many of our LEA partners here. Thank you so much for your support and attendance. I know that, as Ms. Keltner said, there's a lot more of you, which just speaks to, the importance of your organization and the great partnership that the district and the LEA have together. I want to congratulate Fern Wagstaff. Where are you? Oh, you're over there now. You guys moved seats. I get confused. Fern has achieved the advanced level of MSBA's Board Secretary Academy earlier this month. She is well on her way to becoming a master level in this role. So we'll be announcing that, I think, in June, that she has achieved that. No pressure. No pressure. And
I think you're a master already.
Already.
So that's
We
what I'm
already
saying.
think that.
You're a master already.
This paper tells us what we already know. And just a reminder to the community that the Coaches versus Cancer game, basketball game, boys and girls, is this Friday night versus Clayton. So come out, support the team, support the community, and get ready for spring sports.
Is it a pink out? Is it?
Yes, yes. Oh, it is a pink out, so wear your pink. And I believe shirts are for sale and, all the things. So thank you again so much, everyone who is here. And, and actually one more thing. We have not done this yet, but we do have 2 new board members who will be joining us in April. So I would like to, there was a non-contested election, so I'm not stealing stealing the election's thunder, but Amy Hammerman and Robert Snidman, if you'd like to stand, they will be joining our board. They will be installed on April 9th, so if you want to come back for some more board fun, and we will also at that meeting be saying goodbye and thank you to Jeff Coppolo, who will be retiring after 15 years on the board, so that will be a great celebration and honoring Jeff as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Whipke.
Thank you, President Rosen. Appreciate it. LEA, you're looking cheeky in your blue there. I just had to say that, right? Looking good out there. So good evening, everyone. And I will tag into what President Rosen said. Our winter has been tough, right? And it's presented a lot of challenges in terms of inclement weather, leading to more snow days than we probably all would have wanted. Maybe some of us would have wanted. I want to express my sincere gratitude to our parents and our family members that are out there. I want to express a sincere thank you to Mike Noonan and the entire custodial crew, maintenance crew. We're talking, yeah. I can honestly tell you many of the days that we did not go to school, it was not because our facility and our parking lots were not ready. It was because the roads were not ready. And Mike, your crew did an amazing job. So thank you very much. And I include Jeff Macy in that because Jeff is up early in the morning driving all the roads. And we are, as this group of superintendents, trying to make that call with one eye open about 4:15 in the morning, right? So I appreciate everybody's patience, but teachers, LEA, I want to thank you for working hard to put together some AMI plans. It not only benefited your students, but it does help us not extend our year. So I know that's extra work, extra effort, but I wanted to thank you all for that. Despite the disruptions, though, caused by the snow days, our students have continued to excel. I was particularly impressed by the outstanding performance our students had in the recent production of The Prom. Their talent dedications were evident, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Thursday night performance. I also look forward to attending our jazz concert tomorrow evening. I know those students are as equally as talented. I would be also, I think I left this out, and if I did, I should have mentioned this much earlier than now, but I wanted to congratulate Coach Chad Anderson on achieving his 300th career victory with our boys basketball program. On February 6th, we had our Facilities and Finance Committee, and we held a productive meeting at that, engaging in extensive conversations and discussions with community members regarding the potential for a new administrative center. We explored options for both rebuilding and also options for looking at an alternative location that we could renovate. On February 11th, we had our Board Advisory Committee, and we met to discuss strategies for enhancing community awareness on current legislative matters. I have tried to get to almost every single school to talk about several factors going on, but one of the major factors is what's happening with current legislation and legislative matters. To further address the legislative matters, we are working currently for planning sessions with our board to do a work session like we've done with other topics, but solely around the legislative issues that are impacting public schools. To say public schools are under attack is an understatement. So we are going to have that conversation and open that up to our community. We haven't locked in the dates yet. Actually, Peter and Keisha, Jeff, and I, we were all at a meeting last night with other school districts, and we thought, hey, we need to get our community more involved, and Keisha was the brainchild and said, well, why don't we do a work session? And that's what we're going to do. And anyone here in this room is invited to attend that work session. We just got to put our plans all together with that first. But the work session will in particularly talk about the tax reduction bills that are out there, and they will talk about open enrollment, which can go hand in hand with the tax reductions. It's important for us to understand that while our community's income tax dollars bring in a lot of revenue, they don't bring in a lot of revenue for Ladue School District. The income tax dollars goes to fund the state, and I think that's an important factor that I've talked to many of you about. Ladue School District does rely heavily on local funding, not income tax. We support the senior tax-free, sure, who likes to pay taxes? No one likes to pay taxes, but we need to find ways to bring in that lost revenue. That's an important component. And when all of our income tax is going to provide quality education outside of Ladue, there's ways to make it happen where we can offset that unfair distribution. Our community's tax dollars should remain with Ladue. If tax reduction is the goal, the focus should be on lowering state taxes, not diminishing local funding that directly supports our school. Furthermore, open enrollment should not be considered until Missouri's foundation formula is properly restructured to ensure equitable funding for all school districts. Finally, I want to express once again my appreciation to Ladue Education Association. Your positive and collaborative approach makes it a pleasure to work with each and every one of you and your association. Thank you.
Okay, board committee and liaison reports.
I just want, I know it kind of works out since we are discussing Read tonight as well. Just wanted to point out that it is in the latest issue of Link, which is coming out, but that Read was a 2025 Missouri State School of Character distinction. As if that was not enough, Read is now going for national level distinction. And so I just wanted to applaud Dr. Schreiner, Dr. Sides, Jen Hadfield for taking the lead on that. It's really been a pleasure just to do whatever we can to support that process. Speaking of Read character, this weekend is trivia night for the adults. So I think it's once upon a time, just ... then the rest is up to each table. So we'll see how that fits into the school's character, but really is a pleasure. And if anything, we can certainly take inspiration from the achievement of our students, our teachers, and our administrators. So I'd rather have that as the theme. So no, thank you so much. And it really has been a pleasure. Yeah, I don't know, I'm very proud to be the liaison for that school. So thank you.
I was going to say many of the committee meetings that Dr. Whipke mentioned I have been a part of as well, but I do want to remind the Board of Education, I've also been part of the MSBA Advocacy Series, which has been taking place on Fridays via Zoom. And if you have not yet, that I would encourage you all to register to attend MSBA Advocacy Day on March the 11th at the State Capitol, where we can address some of these issues head on with our legislators in their house. I also had the pleasure of attending the final production of The Prom on Saturday evening, and I also had the pleasure, it was an amazing performance. Our students did an awesome job. I had to remind myself that I was looking at high school students halfway through the performance. So I really want to acknowledge the students, the band, and the crew, and I got a bunch of autographs that might be worth a lot of money someday. And since this is the only board meeting that we've had in the month of February, I want to acknowledge Black History Month. And this quote is, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." And that is a quote by Martin Luther King. And I just want to remind everyone that Black history is American history. Thank you.
Any other reports? Thank you, Keisha. Okay. Is there any public comment? No? Okay. We will be moving on to the consent agenda. Hopefully everyone on the board has had a chance to review. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? So moved. Thank you, Pablo. Second. Thank you, Keisha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, our action items. Thank you, Dr. Helm. Ms. Hardigan.
We are ahead of you a little bit here.
I didn't need these last year I was up here, and I need them this year. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Hardigan, the director of LEA's Meet and Confer team. I am pleased to stand before you tonight with Dr. Helm as we share the results of the Meet and Confer process. We began the process in December and worked all through January and concluded last week with our final meeting. I really want to thank my team, Michael Clay and Katie Courtwright, who are here. It's a lot of time and commitment, and I really appreciate them. I'd also like to thank Dr. Helm, Dr. Macy, and Mr. Griffith, who served as the team from the district. We really appreciate the open lines of communication we're able to have. I'd also like to thank Mr. Pablo Flynn for sitting in as the silent observer for the board. I also really want to acknowledge the hard work and support of the entire LEA Executive Board, many of whom are here this evening. They put in a lot of work working together with their schools and with us. And I want to also really appreciate the members of our teaching staff who are here tonight. I think their presence here shows the commitment that we have to one another, our students, and the Ladue School District. And I know we are looking forward to next year's talks, which will focus on salary and compensation.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. All right, so we're going to get started on, and Patricia, if you'll click on the actual resolutions, all of these can also be found on board docs if anyone is interested in going through them. So obviously our big topic this time was insurance, so both of us brought forward this topic. We are, insurance costs are on the rise, I think pharmaceutical in particular, so Dr. Macy actually led the charge a lot with this one because in his department is benefits, and so we appreciate all the work that him and his department did in this area. We are a self-funded plan, so trying to make sure that we can maintain high-quality benefits for our staff. So the resolution that we came to, in order to address all of these, the district is going to increase the employee and retiree premium by 8%, but this will have no monetary impact on our existing employees. We also are looking to offset the increase to dependent coverages. We are going to bid out our PBM, of course we have to have an acronym, pharmacy benefit manager, and try to do some controlling and reducing costs through additional programs, discounts, and direct consumer purchasing to offset the cost of some of that. We do understand that this will create some disruption with some of our members, but we are working to ensure that we provide a smooth transition for our plan members. So we are going to be, one of the things we're going to be doing is Dr. Macy and myself will be going around and doing Q&A sessions at faculty meetings prior to the start of the new plan year. Dr. Macy actually just sent out an email today to try to go ahead and get those on our calendars for this upcoming one. So that is the L1 and D1.
The LEA also brought, along the lines of working towards reducing some of our medical costs, a idea about increasing wellness reimbursements and maybe tying those to evidence of meeting some wellness goals. We have agreed to table that to next year when we are going to be talking about the entire compensation package. Also last year, we spent some time talking about some of the infringements that have started to happen upon teachers' prep time, which is super valuable time so that teachers can be their best selves in front of their students. We brought a couple of proposals to maybe to talk about ways we can protect that time and maybe carve out some more time. I'll be talking about one of them, and Dr. Helm will be talking about one of them. We wanted to address pre-session, and I think we have come to some really good agreements about making some revisions to how that pre-session looks. Dr. Helm has a really nice kind of plan that we can look at. The administration will be working with with the building principals in order to ensure that teachers have enough time to feel ready for their school year and ready to welcome the children into the buildings.
So the other one that I want to talk about is the LEA brought, which is the teacher plan time. And this is one that, if you scroll up, it's L4. Dr. Brown, thank you. This is one what we've been talking about through not just Meet and Confer, but also through Super LEA. We talk about this quite a bit. And so they had brought forth looking at possibly some early release days being added in. I know that that's something that, as we've talked about, like student contact time, that wasn't necessarily something that that the board or that the district really wanted, would consider. However, we do recognize that there are a lot of discrepancies between teacher plan time minutes, not necessarily 6-12, but definitely K-5. And so we are having ongoing discussions about the inconsistencies. Even just today, we were meeting, Dr. Crabtree and I had a meeting with the principals, elementary, and we were talking about different ways that we could work on that even just for next year. But recognizing it, and then again, just trying to make sure that we are giving the teachers, I know with elementary it's hard to get in all of your subjects, but also making sure that we're recognizing that they have the time that other levels have, or at least getting it as equitable as possible. The next one that we actually both brought was parent-teacher conferences. I think we noticed that there's definitely some language that needed to be refined in here. For some reason, there has always been a specific time length for elementary only, and it said that they could be no less than 20 minutes. And so that was definitely something that we wanted to look at, but we also wanted to provide some clarity around some other things in there. And so if you move to the resolution, what we have decided on are specific start and end times, and we worked with the building principals, but also LEA to say, what's the best time for you guys to start, and then also, but knowing that we have to work the 7 hours outside of the regular day in order to get that conference compensation day. So those will be the times starting for next school year, not this spring. And then also just provided some clarity. Things are being done inconsistently between buildings, whether dinner time was in or out. So we just made some clarifications on that. And then also making sure that it's very important that we know that every building has their own separate designated evening for conferences, because if you have children at multiple schools, it's really hard to get to all of them. And then, of course, that last one being all on the same night. This year, we did move that away from the Thursday before fall break and spring, and we will be for spring break. We will be gathering feedback from the teacher organization to see how they've liked that, and if they want to continue with that. So that was just a way to try to promote more parents participating in conferences instead of leaving town for vacations already. And we did go ahead and propose to remove that specific language about the minutes, just so that, if you have a class that's 20 students, that's not 7 hours is not even enough time to get that in. And so we, elementary parents are always expected to see our elementary teachers are always expected to see all their parents, so that expectation is not going away, but the time limit is going away. And then the next one, staff leave policy. LEA brought this up, and I appreciate that, and just continuing to monitor, how are we doing on the leave policy. It's newer to us, right? So this is our second year doing it, so we are continuing to collect data. You guys know we share it with you monthly. We share it with Super LEA. We are looking at trends. We are just making sure that people are following policy. We're also looking at, like, from a PD's perspective or from school business, those are things that we can control. Are there things that we can do differently in order to keep teachers in front of their students? So we are just continuing to monitor that.
We brought also a proposal about making sure that we are acting proactively to set up next year for success in setting up our the discussions around our compensation package. We have agreed that we are going to begin those discussions earlier in the school year than we began them this year, and that we are going to collaborate this spring to come up with the schedule and have that all set in stone, so that we can stand before you next year with something that is agreeable to all of us and addresses these folks back here. And we are also going to be making all those changes in the master agreement that need to be made, especially with regards to parent-teacher conferences, and then we'll be working, Julie and I, with the legal team to make sure everything is meeting with current state law and federal law.
Awesome. So, in summary, it feels like a love fest here, but and Jen stole some of my thunder. Please don't start dimming the lights on me. But I do want to publicly thank Jen for her leadership, along with Michael and Katie. So I appreciate it. I do know it's a lot of time. Thanks to our team, Dr. Macy. Brad's not here tonight, but thanking him. Thanking Pablo for being a silent observer. Dr. Whipke and the board for your support and partnership with us. I also want to thank your president, Laura Roosh, and Vice President Riley Keltner for your LEA leadership. And then lastly, I do want to say thank you to all the teachers for coming out tonight and for everything you do. Use my teacher voice for all of our students every day. I mean, I'm so grateful that we have a great relationship and partnership. I think you guys see the news all the time, and that's not the case in other places. So thank you guys for everything you do. We appreciate it. Oh, look at us. Awesome. So any questions from the board for either of us?
The only thing I was going to mention, too, is that this Board of Education is phenomenal. Hello? Hello? It's on. Maybe I need to use my teacher voice. The Board of Education is phenomenal, and you'll see that it's in action tonight, but there is updates going on in every closed session. So our Board of Education needs a lot of credit because they are strong advocates of what you do in the classroom and how difficult your job is as teachers. So I just wanted to make sure that we are in action tonight to take action on it, but this board has been briefed and this board has had a voice.
This is on. Any other questions or comments? I don't have a teacher voice. Okay.
Good evening, all. Is this off too?
No, you're on.
Am I on? I'd offer again, as was pointed out, I was a silent observer, so I get to sit and watch brilliant people talk about brilliant things for brilliant human beings, right? So you as a staff, support brilliance in your classrooms. in whatever roles you have. And it really, I mean, as a silent observer, that was my job, is to watch and listen and truly observe. And so I do appreciate the partnership. Many of those who've been here a long time didn't necessarily always see that, but it really is looking at what can we do for each other to make sure kids have everything they need from all of you. So it really has been a privilege thus far.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2025-2026 meet and confer resolution as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Oh,
No, Jennifer.
I was giving it to Pablo, but.
Oh, no, oh, Pablo. Yeah, oh, yeah, you were the observer.
We're giving it to Pablo,
You
who
get
is
the
the silent
second.
observer.
I'm sorry.
I have to, Pablo.
We all support each other. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all so much.
You get an opportunity to go with me.
I always say this, I know you want to stay and hear the rest of the meeting. There's some really exciting stuff coming, but if you do want to leave, or you have other places to go on your Wednesday evening, now is a good time to do that. Thank you all so much for coming. Sorry, Peter, I did not mean to snap at you. Fern texted me, Keisha texted me, and then you were like,
I kept it to myself.
I was like, I got it. It's right here. It's okay. Excuse Jeff. I'm going to do it after Jeff. After this, Jeff.
Well, if you miss 3 in a row and you're not excused, you get kicked off. But if you do the timing with him, he would have to miss every single one and get kicked off.
He wasn't here.
He was excused, though.
Yeah, he was excused.
As long
No,
as
I'm saying from. Did he get excused from open?
Not yet.
No, not yet. But I'm just saying
I'm
he's
gonna
fine.
do it.
No, I'm saying he's fine though.
He's
Either
fine.
way, even if you don't,
sweating.
he's
I know, he's
fine.
Okay. Dr. Macy with the SM Wilson pay application.
Good evening, Board of Education. I am here tonight to ask you to approve pay application number 44. So I know we talk each month.
Oh,
about
thank you
what
for telling me the
it
number.
is. It is number 44.
Is that 400? Or?
And we do this once a month, so that is indeed every bit of 44 months. So I do appreciate the endurance that the board has shown. We are asking the board to approve a pay application this month for $36,000. We have approximately $100,000 remaining, and again, we're just ironing out the kinks, paying out the retainage, and making sure that everything is warranted.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the SM Wilson pay application in the amount of $36,688.23?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. And before we move on to information, my mistake, Mr. Coppolo had to leave. He was not feeling well. So is there a motion to excuse Jeff from the open board session tonight?
So moved.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Second.
Thank you, Pablo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Sorry, Jeff. Okay. Okay, our Old Bonham team? Dr. Simon, Dr. Crabtree? I had to look and, Dr. Taggart, I got it.
I still answered above.
Okay, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you to all the staff that did decide to stay to show support. Thank you. It's a big deal.
So nice, OB.
Yes. We are going to talk a little bit about Old Bonham. Dr. Simon, Dr. McCreary, our assistant principal, and then Mrs. Alvord, our instructional coach. We will present tonight. I can click. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so for one of our goals this year, a big one was relationships. And that was really so that, after COVID and everything, it was really hard to kind of get back in routine with things and to really bring back some of those building blocks that really helped the community kind of build and feel like we had wrapped our arms around them. And so going into this year, that was kind of one of our big focuses. And so we have a commitment to a supportive and inclusive school community. So we're prioritizing our cultural competence by providing ongoing staff workshops to increase respect and understanding of diverse backgrounds. and encouraging staff participation in DEI initiatives to promote a more inclusive school environment, as well as improving school-family communication just through our transparent updates by offering more clear communication and curriculum night. We may have events that are pretty standard as far as like going into the teacher classrooms, but oftentimes there weren't opportunities for what they were doing in the special areas. They were there if families would reach out to them, but it's not like they were there present sharing information and really able to be asked questions. So we changed that this year, and we've heard that families really do appreciate having like a little pamphlet for like what their kids are learning in Spanish and PE and art. So that brought about some more knowledge for them. We also, this past year and moving forward, are having curriculum for our not pre-K, our kindergarten families. So in May, we had a little curriculum night for kindergarten just so we could kind of share information for incoming families. They were able to kind of just get a lay of the land and then ask questions throughout, which also helped them for over the summer whenever they had the kindergarten socials. They felt more comfortable, like they kind of had some people with familiar faces, so that was nice. And we're hoping that that builds community as well as maybe new people to the community are able to kind of connect with others that might be in their community, and that gives them, you know, a smiling face, someone to look at and come together with. So we this year have been building a positive presence through Instagram. A lot of our teachers have reignited their Instagram, as well as all of us here. We've been doing our very best to share stories, tell our story, and make sure that, you know, we're sharing outward what not everybody can see all the time, but they're able to really get a feel for what Old Bonham is about, even if they're not in the building all of the time. That's okay. Is that right? Okay, perfect. So also what we've done this year is we have had some DEI initiatives as far as working with our PTO to integrate some more opportunities. This year they worked closely for Black History Month, and then we have some other opportunities coming down the pipeline just to really celebrate our diversity in our building. There used to be, it's a small world that was brought to Old Bonham, and that kind of went away with COVID. And so we've kind of been talking about those things. What resources are out there that we can tap into to really make sure that all of our community feels supported. And looking ahead this year into next, we are going to continue working on our DEI initiatives with our DEI committee, and we are reading a book. We're doing a book study, and really it's just about growing those partnerships, but then also kind of like peeling back the layers of the onion and having those tough conversations with our committee members so that we can be better for all.
All right, so goal number 2 was really all about educator joy and collaboration. So we did a lot of things to really focus on recognition, appreciation, connection, reflection, wellness, and team building among our staff. So we incorporated a lot of wonderful things this school year. So one of those things was regular reflection sections where we could just kind of share experiences with each other, and just another way to connect. At the beginning of the school year, we did how we fit together as a puzzle, so that's kind of been our theme throughout everything that we do, is how do we fit together as a whole school community, not just as a staff, but with everybody in our building. We did an optional book club that's all about wellness, and going through that together. We incorporated Eagle shout-outs, where anybody in the building can do shout-outs, and Stacy has been amazing to put that on our OB News, so it really just helps build connection within our building. We've been doing thankful notes where parents are able to just give highlights to anybody within the building and staff and just tell them how amazing they are. We've enacted some wellness resources and things like that. There's weekly yoga sessions, and then we had a really fun scavenger hunt within the community that we know the parents were able to see on our socials and got to feel that connection with all of us together. And we just felt like doing all of these things have really just helped create a more positive and supportive environment for our school community. Safety. So safety is always a priority at Old Bonham, and we've made a lot of significant progress. This year I've been really lucky to partner with Tim, Reblay, work closely with our Olivet Fire Department and Police Department, get to know them, get to know me, and really just form a really close partnership with them. The main key areas that we really wanted to focus on this year was our preparedness. So how are we running our drills? What do those things look like? And just making sure that our students and staff are prepared as we're working through those things, and then continuously getting feedback so that we can perfect those crafts as we do them. Another one was just the community engagement piece, and just giving them a role in that. One component of that was having a Safety Ambassadors Eagle Council, so kind of getting feedback from our students of what are things that they're seeing and what are things that we can do, and kind of come together and work through those things. And then another one was clear communication. So we worked really closely with Tim and Olivet to get universal signs throughout the building and to be uniform with the high school and the middle school. So we've been working really closely to align those things. Our new alarm system that we have, and then the new maps and arrows and things that we'll have, and then just continuing to monitor our systems to make sure that everybody's receiving it and also receiving it in the language so that they can get what they need from us.
All right. One of our goals that we've really focused on, it's been a focus, but for every year, but we really tried to put some meaningful pieces to our social emotional learning this year. We are very blessed to have staff that does a lot of reading, has personal children that this is near and dear to their hearts, so they want to share it with us as well. So I know that our Excellence in Education recipient was Miriam Gerwertz, and she's back there, I think, where she was. And we mentioned that in that presentation, but one of the things that she did this year was we got together with the counselors and we kind of talked about what we wanted to focus on as a goal. And they came up with the language for neurodiversity and neurodivergent, and what does that mean, and how do we kind of help our students understand, but as well as our students, our families, and our staff. And so through just learning and conversations and all the pieces that we do have already given to us as universals from the district, Miriam was able to offer a series of learning opportunities in the mornings for staff to attend if they chose to. But then it was neat because through conversations you would hear, a teacher say, oh, you know what, I never really understood that this was kind of the frame of mind that they were working under. But in that training, that made me think of X, Y, and Z. And so that was really neat, as well as we were able to offer that to our families if they wanted to come up. So far, we just did one night. Not a huge turnout, but as you know, things take time. But what that did is it sparked conversations around just how much they appreciated being able to have open conversation, ask questions, and then that also led to, like, I would love it if we could learn about ADHD, if we could learn about, and they just kind of went on and talked about it. So it kind of sparked some interest in future collaboration, and they felt like they just had a wealth of knowledge within us, and that was really important to us because we learn as much from them as they learn from us, and then that only helps our entire building, our students. So ongoing, we're doing ongoing professional development with that. And then we'll continue to work on the family workshops. We haven't, gotten that completely underway, but that's definitely something that we want to continue to work on, as well as continuing to send out SEB Tuesday tips. We do that for our staff. and then the home link letter that comes with second steps. We send that home to families too so that they're aware of what we're talking about, and just trying to make it to where it's actually noticed in our communication. We've been really mindful about the amount of communication we've sent out so that things don't get lost in the shuffle.
So this year, we've made some significant strides in our school climate in teacher-student relationships this year. We've seen a marked increase in student belonging and engagement, which is truly rewarding. This progress is reflected in the strong foundation of mutual respect that we've cultivated, not just between staff and students, but also among our staff and members themselves. These positive relationships are essential in our continued success in creating a thriving learning environment for all.
And for the action items, whenever we got together with our staff, we were able to kind of look at what we noticed from the Panorama survey results, what we wondered from the Panorama survey results, and then what we wanted to do about the Panorama survey results. And so from that, we decided that continuing to strengthen just our staff connections, which is why you see the puzzle pieces ongoing, and then professional development. You know, one of the biggest things is we all have different experiences, and we want to make sure that our professional development can be what we need at the time that we need it. And so just kind of figuring out ways that we can ask our staff what kind of PD they would like, so that we can make those school-based PD days really meaningful for us and the best use of our time. Enhancing student support, so making sure that, you know, we continue with that SEL mindset, and continuing to recognize the trends that we find or that we see and where we can maybe add our resources together to get more support at certain grades, certain times of the year, certain times of the day. Continuing to be mindful about that. Of course, increasing our family engagement. We didn't have a ton of parents that did take the survey. We did work with our PTO to talk through that, and our PTO said, you know, I mean, if we're happy, then we didn't really fill it out. And then there were some questions about, do I fill it out as a teacher? Do I fill it out as my middle school parent, as my elementary parent? You know, and so some of those questions that we could maybe help clarify for them. But one thing we are doing is whenever we have conferences coming up in March, we are actually going to have people stationed to welcome them in and then offer support for the Panorama survey, getting on, you know, just maybe there's some structural things we can do that would make it better and more feasible for more families to take it. And so that's what we're targeting from our Panorama results, and we look forward to the next set of Panorama data that we'll be receiving, you know, by the end of this year to kind of help us drive our goals for next year.
Yeah, okay. Hello, I'm honored to get to share some of the important things and amazing things that I got to do this year at Old Bonham as the coach of the school. So one of the things that I was the most proud of, and still am to this day, and my school, my teacher friends behind me will say, yep, this is her passion project. I started the OB News at school this year, and it has taken off with great success, and I am so looking forward to the direction that it's going to go, because I know it's only going to grow even more. We have a weekly newscast, and our fourth graders applied for the position through our new Eagle Council, and they come in every week, and not only do they record the news, they come with ideas, they are prepared, they love it. So it is their baby, but it's also the school's whole. Everybody has embraced it, and I could not be more proud of the direction that it is going and the culture shift that it has taken in just a very short amount of time. So that definitely would probably be my number one passion project, even though it's not directly linked to instruction. I have to say I feel it is, because it is such a culture shift, and everybody's like, can we share this, and can I tell you about this, and can I tell you what holiday we celebrate? And teachers and staff members and even parents on our snow days were submitting pictures to go onto the news. So it has been great. My second thing that I would like to talk about is our teacher sign up. It is how I drum up business. It is my calling. For anybody needs anything, please sign up, and it can be anything from, I would love to come co-teach with you, I would love to come model a lesson. We have new reading and writing programs that have reading last year and writing this year. It's a great time for it to be a safe place to say, can you come teach with me? So I love my teacher signups, and I get giddy when it dings and tells me I have a new appointment signed up, and I respond right away, and the teacher's probably like, what is she doing? Why is she watching this right now? But it is one of my favorite parts of my week when there's signups. So another thing is Lunch and Learns. It's a time where we don't take time from teachers' prep times, that they get to come into there's a picture of one on the screen now. We learned about SAM labs during this one. So we provided lunch, and teachers who signed up, it was optional, came in, and we actually had a mini little PD session for the 30 to 35 minutes that they could give the time to learn something new during their lunchtime, and we didn't take away from their prep time or their IEPs or all the other things that they have to attend during that one little break that they get during the day. So they were learning and hopefully collaborating and eating together and enjoying a little learning. So Lunch and Learns are another passion project of mine. STEAM Day, I hope you've heard about it and you knew how great it went. I was honored to get to work with the coaches this year. I had seen STEAM Day before, but because of the shift in our roles a little bit this year, I got to be a big part of the planning and see what goes on behind the scenes. And I have to say it was a huge success, thanks to my counterparts that have already done this and already have a well-oiled machine. But our kids just absolutely love it. It is a day of hands-on learning with tech and science and math and the arts, and it's embraced in all of the elementary schools. And parents and teachers and coaches, we all teach the lessons, and it's just absolutely amazing. So the nurse summed it up. I'm going off script, sorry. The nurse summed it up completely when she said, I did not have one student go to the nurse today. And I said, excuse me? She goes, not one. And I will tell you, we were in the middle of flu A and all the other things going on. So she goes, that's just unheard of. So that to me is extremely telling of how successful STEAM Week goes on in Ladue. I have one more. Digital safety was a new part of my role this year. So digital citizenship lessons. I absolutely loved every second of going into the classrooms and teaching every single student at Old Bonham about how important it is when you are on the internet. And the lessons vary all the way down from kindergarten, screen time, how much time are you on the screen, what you do with your devices, all the way up to our fourth graders that had real conversations about talking to strangers on the internet and knowing who you're talking to. And those lessons were just absolutely wonderful and so important. And again, relationship builder with me and the kids, getting to know all the kids in the school. So it was a great opportunity for me to get to go into every classroom. Last but not least, Grow Time. It is a new initiative in Ladue this year that every student receives some kind of differentiated instruction that goes to what they need to grow no matter what level they are on. So this has been amazing to watch our teachers embrace this and run with it. And they just took off with it. They were told, hey, this is something that we need to do. I have thoroughly enjoyed supporting it, whether that means I'm in a classroom when they have a group and I take a group of children when I can, being with a teacher, supporting them, co-teaching them alongside of the enrichment group, that they're like, hey, let's do this together because our group is so large. I have 20 of these students, or 30 even in one group, that said, if we do it together, it's 15 and 15 and we can co-team this. So just watching everybody embrace this at my school has just been an honor to be a part of. So those are my things.
All right, and the quadrant data you'll see is we have reading and we have math. And if you look at both of those, you can kind of see that we are, Dr. Brown, will you switch to the math too? Next slide, thank you. You'll see that we are more on that high performance, high growth range. However, as you all know, with Grow Time being new this year, it's something very important that students are growing no matter where they are. If they're the highest of the high, it's important that they're still growing. And so through Grow Time, we've really been able to look at iReady data and other data points, assessments, district assessments, and or just classroom assessments that are across the grade, and really kind of look at the data to see what can we do with the students who already know it and the students who don't know it yet. And so by having those conversations, we're able to kind of determine in the grade level who is going to do what to support the students. and then using our learning lab and math specialists along with our instructional coaches, and really just anybody who has a working knowledge around how we can help improve the growth, bringing them in, and then being able in 6 weeks to kind of look at the data, reset, see where we're at. That has been changing, like just very much for us in our building. We've been working on our MTSS processes, we've been having PLCs, but now really getting into looking at data and also being in a place where we're comfortable looking at data collectively as a team and not like it's my kid, my data, sorry, you're not doing so hot kind of thing. Like, we're beyond that. And so our teams have really come together to collectively say, like, what are you doing? You know, or, oh my gosh, you did such a great job with that. Like, maybe you could take this group of students and I could take this group of students. And so, you know, it was a little rough to get started and get our bearings with it at first, but now that we're seeing the benefits of Grow Time, I think it's really powerful and something that we're kind of excited to see, like, what next year brings, because this year was the first year with iReady data. So, like, as we understand the data more, what can it look like for all the pieces of these programs that we can utilize to actually make it be that much better? So, do you have anything to add about the quadrants?
We dug a little deeper and went into actual each individual child, you know, were they high achieving, low growth? Well, we did something wrong. This child has the capability to do better than we would have guessed. And then we talked, of course, all the teachers chimed in. You know, there's times where teachers like that, he had strep. We were, you know, he had 104 fever, and we're like, okay, that doesn't match what you're seeing in the classroom. And others were like, no, I am concerned. We would like to see the growth. So we did dig deeper, and we looked at every single kid during PLCs and really looked at where they fell and made a plan for every single child. And to me, that's extremely powerful. And as a mom, that's exactly what I would want done for my own student. And I think we are on the right path to meet the needs of every kid so every kid can grow.
Great. That's it. Thank you. What kind of questions do you guys have for us?
Back to those slides. So those are grade level, categorically grade levels.
Yes.
Right? So our bottom left quadrant, what are we doing?
The low performance, low growth?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's tier 3.
Say what?
Tier 3 for reading and math.
Yeah, what does that look like?
If we have students in that.
We have students in that, or we are saying we have no students in that?
Yes.
So
no,
it's easy to talk
do.
about everybody else. So that's what I'm asking, what are we doing? Tier 3 isn't the answer. So what I'm asking, what are we doing for those students? What does that look like?
I'm not sure I understand. What are we doing
For students who are low growth,
Yes,
low
we're
achievement.
meeting with them every single day. Like, they're getting beyond just tier 3, they're getting more from the homeroom teacher too. So our homeroom teachers, there used to be just a mindset where we had the tier 1 instruction and then the instructional, learning lab specialist, they would kind of pull the students out.
Sure.
But now we're double dipping and triple dipping. So as many opportunities as we can get. We're also making sure that they're not missing the mini lessons before they might be pulled out during a mini lesson, which is what they need, right? And that was missing an opportunity for them to get the grade level content.
For sure.
And so instead of doing that now, we're making sure that that is a last resort. So not only are they getting it 2 or 3 times, we're also talking more about those students like at every meeting that we possibly can to see, looking at attendance. So going beyond just their time in the classroom, like, and how can we help with getting them here if it's an attendance concern? How can we work with the partner with the parents to figure out how to incentivize them to be here? Really talking about finding their passion, seeing who they have a relationship with, so that person can kind of check in with them to see what's going on, because maybe it's a barrier that we're not aware of.
Sure.
It might just not be that they don't understand or know it. It might be they're dealing with something else. And so really utilizing all of our resources to come in and say, there's something going on with a student, and we need to figure out what it is, and trying to just use as many resources as we possibly can to support the kid.
And what what kind of outcomes do you think you've had by virtue of all those resources in terms of supporting those students to another quadrant?
It's
actually, it's been really powerful, the amount of things that have been able to be done outside of just like an IEP packet. You know,
Sure.
like a lot of times that's kind of the conversation, it's kind of gone that way. But it's like, and we do partner with SSD to have those conversations, but most of the time it doesn't go down that road because we get other ideas and resources from our SSD staff that might say, well, have you tried this intervention? You know, and then they also have programs that they can share with us that we can utilize that allow us to kind of get that in between tier 2 and tier 3. And also bringing the parents on board to say, hey, can you work with these things at home when the opportunity presents that can happen?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make some comments and ask a couple questions. This is my first year not there in the building as a parent or a board liaison or both. So I will say just what I heard tonight about the community growth and relationships, I don't even recognize it. So that just gives me goosebumps because, you know, we always take for granted that Old Bottom is such a special place, and kudos to you guys for just figuring out ways to make it even more special. And to make it your own, Dr. Taggart, I don't know, I'll just say this, that we went to a stay-at-home order, I think 18 months after you came to the building, and then a year later started construction. So I think that, you know, people can take for granted that you have to, you develop families, communities in kindergarten through 4th, especially in our district. And you look around and you're like, a child's whole Ladue experience and beyond is formed there, and you are kind of thrown into a situation where you were brand new to this elementary school that just blew up in your face. And so, yeah, and so, you know, here we are, it's 5 years later, and I don't even recognize this presentation. So kudos to you, that's amazing. I will also say that I love the panorama data that where there has been improvement. I will say this is the first time you don't have a grade level that was at home with COVID because the 4th graders were in kindergarten. And so it's really all the times in the last 5 years where we said, well, it was COVID. And then you think, is that just a crutch? I mean, I feel, you know, it wasn't maybe just a crutch. I mean, maybe that was just a time that, you know, it passed, and it's like, look at that, you know, look at what that did and look at where we came on the other side. So that's really awesome too. So I want to get the news. How do I get the news? Okay. All right.
I want to get the
sitting
news
here
too.
thinking, and I'm like, how am I going to have another kid? Because I really want my kid to do the news. But I think we're past that. I will ask, I know Pablo jumped in on these quadrants, and I know the quadrants are new, thanks to Dr. Crabtree in terms of how the board receives the data. This would appear, like Pablo pointed out, that you have only high growth. Can you explain how this choice of presenting so that I'm kind of following how you chose to make it look this way? Because I know that you didn't intend for us to think that you only have high growth, high performing kids.
No,
Yeah.
but this is the average for each grade level. And so as I presented at our board presentation, every single elementary in every grade level, on average, the grade level average was in high performance, high growth, which is huge that every single grade level is showing. Now, again, that doesn't break down to the individual students. And so we have individual students that fall into the low performance, low growth, but at the elementary level, I would say, I think it was only 3 to 4% of any building that fell into that 2 or more grade levels behind. So I think with all of the pieces that we've put in place between reading success plans, a solid tier 2, especially for reading, next year we need to build in that tier 2 for math. We're catching students earlier and earlier so that we can make sure that they are up to grade level standards, particularly by that very important 3rd grade year where research shows that it's much more difficult after 3rd grade for students to catch up, especially in the area of reading. And so, again, growth has been a huge success, and it is really absolute kudos to all of our teachers, our reading and math specialists, the students that worked with them. We were seeing their growth 10 to 14 percentage points higher than the average student. So again, those tier 3 and tier 2 interventions are really working. The other piece that I explained, that iReady giving that stretch growth, and so really being able to focus in on particularly our students that are in that low growth, low achievement category, that the expectation is really that they're meeting stretch growth, because iReady will show that 2 years of stretch growth, most students will make it back up to grade level at that time.
Okay.
So that's really our focus. And again, our teachers, it's been a huge lift at the elementary level to figure out that grow time. Our teachers dug in, they just took it on, and again, the growth has been better this year than I've ever seen in my 7 years.
It sounds like it.
Curriculum and instruction department.
It sounds like it. I have one more question, and I want to put you on the spot. I'm really just curious. Are you utilizing the new classroom format to do like differentiation or to do co-teaching, or where are we on that? Because I know you and Spady were kind of thrown into that because the board decided that your buildings were doing that. So.
So we actually, for the past, ever since we've had a pod that's been put together like it is now, we've had different opportunities where our instructional coach has been able to go in, co-teach like whole units or just writing for the year. So we've had that going for a couple of years actually. We even had it at one point whenever we had our SSD staff come into one of the classrooms and kind of like a class within a class, if you will, opportunity. We've had it where our reading specialist and math have gone in and supported students in that space. So lots of co-teaching opportunities, but also, yes, they've gone between the wet lab, the flex space. During grow time, they switch kids. Not every time and not all grades, but they switch kids. And so they're able to kind of like, right there in the pod, it doesn't have kids going, 5 minutes down the way. They're able to just kind of go over to the next teacher. At first we were like, oh wow, how's that gonna go for first grade? And the younger kids, because it's like, wow, I don't know if they're gonna be able to get their pencil over there with them. But they really have done a great job of that. So the spaces, how they've been designed, it's been really nice because we're able to actually use the space for what it is. So, if we need a larger area, we're able to go into the wet lab. Or if we're having, some opportunity for us to have a celebration, we're able to use the flex space. The small group rooms have been essential for helping us minimize times, especially whenever we have 4th grade all the way downstairs. That's been really beneficial. And a lot of our new families that come in for tours, they're like shocked, floored, amazed at the opportunities that can be had just because they have small group rooms right by a classroom. And they really seem like to appreciate what could be offered in a space like that.
Great.
I'll just say I am truly amazed, and I love the approach and the fact that you're looking at every aspect of the school, from the parents to the staff to the students. And I think something Jennifer said about, us blaming it on COVID, I think maybe that has made it be much more intentional in looking at our students and making sure that we're monitoring the growth. So I think that this data is a tribute to what's happening in your building every day. And I think that even some of the small things that we often take for granted are contributing to, the benefits that you're seeing for your students and your staff. And the fact that you've really honed in to make sure that the staff, their satisfaction and being, comfortable coming into the building every day, and that you're addressing their needs as well, is something that's very truly important, as we just had a room full of staff members here earlier. So I think that all of this whole approach is tremendous, and kudos to the entire Old Bonham Eagles.
Oh, no, please. I have a quick one with regard to the second year of the pre-K program, and how, now that we are in the second year, how it is continuing to integrate into the building and into the student body, but then also what you've seen from those who were in the pre-K classroom last year and are now kindergartners. And then I'll have the exact same question for Spady next year. But I'm just curious what your perspective is from the growth of that program and those students.
I think it's been wonderful to see the students that were in pre-K. Some of them decided to stay in pre-K another year, which has
brought in even another lens to it, right? Because they're the ones that'll come to the office by themselves and say, I got a source salute, you know, and they're super excited to share that. But they are part of our buddies. We've buddied them up with the class because we used to have families, but now we have classroom buddies as we're trying to get back into the swing of things. Eagle Council kiddos help our pre-K kids. I go and read to pre-K once a month. And so that's been helpful for them to get to know me, for me to kind of get to know them. And if they need any extra support early on, we can get that all worked out. JAG, they have appointments with JAG. We try to do everything we do for kindergarten, we do for pre-K as much as we possibly can, if it makes sense. Field trips, there was a field trip opportunity. And while pre-K can't be on buses right now, we reached out to families, and families were like, yeah, I'll bring them to the field trip. So we were able to do that. So parents really feel like, even if they don't have an older sibling there, that they're able to reach out and ask us questions, and it just is like second nature that they're just part of our building. The kids get out at Cartwriter. We have music in the mornings. We've had that for several years now because it's cold and it's hot and it's all those things out there, so music always makes it a little bit better, right? And so the kids get out and they're dancing, or, you know, and if the teachers aren't out there that are always out there, the kids are asking about it. And so it's neat to see even the pre-K, as little and young as they are, they're like, oh, where's Senor? And it's like, they're just kind of shouting. And the ones that get out with their, like, you know, horses and sparkles and stuff, they're doing the twirl coming out of the car, but they're getting out of the car and they're walking into the building just like any other kindergartner. And that's always a little worrisome, but, you know, the second year, they've got it down. And the first year, it's like, it takes a little while, but they're very acclimated right now. So it's been great.
That's great to hear. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'll offer this to my first question. And maybe when I asked the question, you were like, what are you talking about? We do everything in the whole wide world for kids. And that's the reality. Tier 3 wasn't the answer. The answer was everything you shared that you do for every single kid all the time. And I would just offer, I've been in the district for 20 years as an employee or as a resident. And there's times we could say we show up, there are kids who are going to learn if we showed up 3 days a week. And there's kids we show up for 5 days a week and don't learn, but not at Old Bonham, because you all are making sure you're doing everything you can to address the academic, the social emotional, the well-being of these young people. And so when I asked the question, it was because it's easy for us often to talk about everything that's going well, sometimes because of us and sometimes not. But you all are doing the work to make sure that every student is learning and is healthy emotionally and physically when they come in and out of that building. And that's what you shared, right? So I'm sorry the question caught you off guard, but you shared exactly what you all are doing. Everybody in your building is doing all the time to make sure kids are learning and kids are well. So I appreciate the extra time you gave me on that question.
I'll just say OB Eagles forever. I'm always an Eagle. I agree with Jennifer. I haven't been in your building in a long time. That is my fault. But I just wanted to really congratulate you on this presentation and the work you're doing. I love this family engagement. When I was a parent there, that was something we talked about all the time. How do we get more people in this building? How do we connect with parents? How do we make parents feel welcome? Or caregivers or family members or whatever the situation is. And you guys have really figured out the secret sauce. You know, with these family engagement workshops and with the pre-K families and the social media. I follow you guys all on social media. I love seeing your pictures and your dances and all the fun things that you're doing that are making learning not feel like learning especially for the littlest ones, that they twirl out of the car every day because they're so happy to be there, and they don't even know all that you're pouring into them. So thank you so much for that. I love that I can't recognize it. I love that it's grown so much and will continue to grow, and with all the work that you've done.
So I just wanted to real quickly thank you all for presenting. You've done an excellent job. And then I want to, again, and I sound like a broken record at some of these, but I want to thank the Board of Education, because we have an assistant principal there full time. And I don't think, yeah. And the board's the one that supported that. And Elizabeth, you're doing an amazing job, an outstanding job. Yeah. And I think everybody could hear your passion when you spoke so eloquently tonight. But you've got a good team there, and that allows Dr. almost said Taggart, Simon, to dive a little deeper and to differentiate and to be the curricular and instructional leader alongside of Elizabeth. And I think that that's a huge piece and a huge component to the success of the school. So I wanted to say thank you, not only to the team up here, but Elizabeth, thanks for fitting in so well and working so hard.
We have really been a great team, so thank you.
Thank you all so much. Oh, I was like, where's Dr. Schreiner? There he is. He was hiding over on the side.
Are we your headliner? Is that what it is? That's so exciting.
That makes you feel good, yes.
It does. Well, Kristen was Reed. I told that to Kimberly coming in here. You know, Kristen started off at Reed, our excellence in education. So anyway, always looking for ways to celebrate Reed.
Hey, Chris, I think you think Amy Zielinski still works here. I'm just saying, right? I mean, I'm just saying. So she's here in spirit. Okay.
I don't know that joke.
It's fine. Peter's here. That's all you need.
You're going to tell me later.
I'm
She
always
passed
an
the
eagle.
torch to
Peter's
me.
always a panther.
Well,
You don't worry
I am
about them,
Schreiner,
Chris.
the principal at Reed, and joining me today is our full-time assistant principal, Sarah Sides, and our coach, Jenny Bradley. Very proud to be up here with them. We are looking forward to sharing our progress towards our CSIP goals. For those that know me best, know I love Reed. Obviously, I've kind of showed that a little bit. And we put together a couple slides of celebrations. We were told to keep our presentation brief. But if you'd like to come to Reed to listen to more celebrations, you are more than welcome to come to Reed Elementary.
Peter will block us at the door. Only Peter.
No, I will be there tomorrow. It's Donuts with Grown-Ups. Thursday and Friday, 7 a.m. to 8:30.
I'm a grown-up.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I like
If you
donuts.
wanna be a kid, bring a
Come
donut,
on
you can
over.
do that as well. I'll start by saying that we have a perfect APR. We earned 100 points in performance and continuous improvement in all areas, in ELA and math, in all of our student groups. And because of that, we received a Exceptional Growth Award in ELA from the Prime Center. So very proud of that. And then Sarah will tell the next slide. Which way did you point, Stephanie? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's that way? Got it.
I'm going to let you be the button pusher.
Okay, I'll be the button pusher.
Yeah, you be the button pusher.
I push a lot of buttons, that's true.
Like Dr. Schreiner said, there's a lot of celebrating to do about Reed, and just being a new person to Reed, I can tell you, I have found my home, and it is an absolutely incredible place, and I'm very proud to be a Reed Panther, but also be a part of the Ladue community. So as Mr. Garapi shared, Reed was named a School of Character by the state this February, and on Friday we will actually have our Zoom interview for our national interview for the School of Character. So we will keep you posted when we get that. I'm just, positive affirmations with that. Another really positive thing that we're looking for is our panorama data that we've gone through and looked pretty closely at with students, teachers, and staff, and our parents. We have seen an increase from last spring to the fall, and we're excited to see the growth that we hope will be coming when we take this survey again coming up soon. Lastly, and probably one of our biggest celebrations, is we have a sensory room at Reed this year, and we have worked very closely with Stephanie Chappie and our counselors to build a place that had different tools to meet the needs of different students. We have gone through and looked at data, identified students that we felt like would benefit from a sensory room, and we have created a schedule to meet those student needs. So you're able to look at the data and see just from 5 students, the referrals and the support calls. And then once the sensory room and this break was implemented for those students, the drastic decrease in the referrals and support calls within those 5 students. It has been a wonderful partnership with working with Stephanie Chappie and our counselors, and our RSA has also been a part of donating towards the room and buying supplies for it. So that is also a huge celebration for Reed.
All right, I'll go tell you a little bit of information that kind of drives our CSIP plan. First of all, our CSIP plan is here to support our district initiatives, specifically on DEI. creating an inclusive atmosphere where students feel a sense of belonging, and providing students what they need socially, emotionally, and academically so students are able to meet their academic potential, and creating an environment where students feel safe and are safe. We also took in consideration data that we got from the Panorama survey, specifically in coaching, feedback, and professional learning. And then all the elementary schools are committed to working towards Marzano's high reliability schools, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Marzano's high reliability schools, but there are 5 levels of this. And basically, just like any good organization, you need a good foundation. So the level 1 is safe, supportive, and collaborative culture. So we as an elementary team have been doing some professional development together to work on that. But we've also been partnering with our curriculum and instruction department on the second level of the framework, which is effective teaching in every classroom, and which is level 2. And then to kind of go in a little deeper with level 2, I feel like I'm doing a dance up here. As if you focus in on level 2, this is kind of a little highlight. We've been really focusing under context, which has 4 areas, which is engagement, rules and procedures, relationships, and communicating high expectations. And you will see that our CSIP plan is organized under those 4 headings. So all of our goals, did I go too far on that? Oh. All of our goals are aligned with those 4, under those 4 categories. We have done our CSIP, you'll see they're we're going to focus on the areas highlighted in yellow when we get to our CSIP. Wow, this thing is touchy. We have many other steps, but we're focusing, just to keep our presentation brief, we're focusing on the ones in yellow, but you can certainly ask questions about the other steps we've taken under those areas.
Okay, so under the area of engagement, one of my goals as the elementary coach at Reed has been to provide meaningful opportunities for growth. Through Lunch and Learns, we explored innovative tools like SAM Labs, providing teachers with hands-on experience in integrating technology that aligns with the curriculum and enhances student engagement. I worked closely with the other elementary coaches to plan and implement STEAM Week across all the elementary buildings in the district. Together, we designed engaging hands-on activities that integrated science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, ensuring that they were accessible for all students. Through one-on-one coaching, I've worked with first-year teachers and teachers who are new to Ladue in partnership with Jan Cortez, co-author of Math in Focus, to deepen the understanding of our math curriculum, ensuring that teachers feel confident in their instructional strategies. I've also modeled lessons on various topics like digital citizenship, robotics, and iPad integration. I've worked with teachers to collaborate and observe their colleagues, fostering a culture of shared learning. And through the district's Ignite cadre, I've worked with members to enhance engagement by integrating technology in ways that empower both our teachers and students. During our district and building PD days, I had the privilege of presenting alongside with another member of our Ignite cadre, who's here, Katie Courtwright. And moving forward, our goals to continue growing and deepening the impact of our coaching program at Reed are to establish a system for collecting and analyzing data on the effectiveness of professional development opportunities, continue building a collaborative teaching culture, continue refining our PD sessions, incorporating more hands-on application-based learning experiences, offer personalized instructional coaching tailored to the individual teacher needs. You'll also see highlighted there that this year we've had building walks or learning walks in our building. So I wanted to share a little bit about the success of those. It's been a collaborative effort amongst the entire staff at Reed to strengthen our professional growth through shared learning experiences. Over the course of 2 rounds, we planned and organized learning walks to identify and celebrate best teaching practices. The second round of our learning walks emphasized Marzano's framework in the area of context to deepen our understanding of effective instructional strategies. The impact has been really significant. 17 of our staff members were observed, including homeroom teachers, special area teachers, and special school district staff. Most importantly, we achieved 100% participation from our certified full-time staff, ensuring that every teacher had the opportunity to engage in this valuable experience. The learning walks have not only strengthened instructional practices, but they have deepened collaboration among our team. By opening the classrooms and learning from one another, we're building a culture of continuous improvement and excellence for both our staff and students. And we have an agenda linked in the slideshow there that kind of walks you through the different areas of context under in Marzano's framework that we follow whenever we go into classrooms and observe. And then we have an opportunity after the observation to come together as a group and really just highlight and praise the teacher who we have observed and acknowledge all of the teaching practices that they're utilizing in their classroom. It's an opportunity to share, ask questions, and really grow together as a community.
So like Dr. Schreiner had mentioned, we have several action steps under all of our goals, but we just really wanted to focus on a few of them. So looking at that first one, we've really spent our time this year learning around Marzano's framework. We've done our best to identify the areas of strength and growth and gathering staff input. At the beginning of the school year, we did an all-staff survey with using the different indicators under the Marzano's framework. We as a team analyzed those results. We made steps, we made some changes, we put some systems into place, and then we shortened the survey and we gave it back to staff, asking them to narrow it down a little bit more. We took that time to then also gather more staff input, putting together a little bit of a committee, asking our leadership team what are some ideas and things that we can do to help improve these areas within the framework that we need to. Our goal is to give the exact same survey to staff again at the end of the year and compare the results from the beginning to the end and use that information to make our goals for next year. Another part of that under the rules and procedures is the safety. So I was not here last year, but from what I've been told, there was a crock pot that set off our Centegix alert. And while it was very, scary at the time, it ended up being a blessing in a lot of ways. What it did was point out the fact that we need to have a plan in place when we have guests in our building, whether it's during the day, before school, or after school. So we have worked with our safety team and our committee to put together a sub-safety folder, and that's something that anytime a sub comes into our building, they are given this folder, and it has everything about safety and procedures that they need to know throughout the day. We are still working with some of our clubs and before and after school to try to figure out what we can do to support them so they also know what happens if we have a drill or if there's an intruder or any sort of emergency situation before or after school. A part of that was also realizing that we needed a second route to our reunification point. One route is not going to work depending on where you are in the building. So we worked really closely with Tim Rebule, who has been fantastic. He talked to some different family members through the different lots we would need to cross, and we have a second unification point and a route to get there. We have a map, we've talked about it with staff, they know exactly how to get there, and our next step is going to be to actually take the staff on both of those routes so they know how to get there and the best way to get there, and then we'll bring them back and have more discussion about it. Oh, is this me? Oh, it's me again. All right, I love that. All right, so our goal 3 is all about relationships. So last year and this year, our diversity committee has worked really closely with Jen Resume and Leah Crawford to lead us through the cultural proficiency training. The committee has taken what they've learned with them back to our teachers and staff, and we've utilized some of the different activities, both in PD and in staff meetings. This year, as you know, the district has implemented the No Place for Hate. We have a committee of 17 students on our No Place for Hate. The first half of the year, we were able to use our staff committee to put together a lesson to roll out to students during one of our family times. And then we also had the all-school banner made and created and hung up in the building in a place that every day, every student walks by. So that was our goal for that, is to make sure every student walks by it every day and sees it. Most recently, and actually today, what we did is we had our student committee plan our family lesson. and present today. So a few months ago, we pulled our panorama data from the students, and we had our No Place for Hate students look through that data and identify some different areas that they thought we could do some work around. We pulled that group back together, and they helped plan and present at our family time and implement our lesson today around culture. Lastly, the one thing I want to share is we were a little late to the party, but Reed did join Best Buddies this year. And Best Buddies is a program to support fostering relationships with students with disabilities and their peers. We have 28 students that are a part of this leadership group, and we have been able to do 2 activities. One, we did a fall activity with all students together, and an actual rep from Best Buddies came and was a part of that. And then earlier this month, we had a Valentine's making where we made Valentines, and then we sent those off to another school.
All right, looking at our 4th CSIP goal, communicating high expectations. Throughout the year during our grade level PLC meetings, we have, our grade level teams have been really intentional in using past NWEA data and current iReady data to drive decisions for their grow time. By consistently analyzing student progress during our data review meetings, we've been able to make informed instructional choices that directly impact student growth. A key part of this process has been the collaboration amongst grade level teachers to create student groups based on reading and math data. Teachers work together to identify specific student needs, ensuring that each group receives targeted instruction that fosters growth. Flexible grouping allows teachers to provide the personal support that students need, whether it's an intervention for students that need extra support or enrichment for those that are ready for the next challenge. Additionally, we have taken a structured approach by scheduling dedicated time for grow time in our weekly grade level schedules. This ensures that every student has access to targeted instruction that meets their individual needs. We remain committed to reviewing and refining this schedule as we develop our 2025-26 building schedule to ensure that it continues serving our students effectively.
So Dr. Simon went over this quadrant chart a little bit, our graph a little bit too, and we have the same graph as well. We are thrilled by the growth our students are experiencing this year based on our iReady assessments. This quadrant graph is for reading, taken directly from iReady. As you know, the left side are students who are performing, have performing below grade level, and the right side presents high growth, or sorry, high performance, and then the low is low growth, and the high as part of this is high growth. This graph represents Reed's average reading scores. This does not mean that all of our students are achieving and at a high performance and high growth, which I will show you in the next slide. But what it does mean is that our school has a lot to celebrate. So as I mentioned, not all of our students are performing at a high level and making high growth. But this graph shows that even though we have students performing at all levels, the bulk of our students in reading are performing at a high level and growing. On the left, in green, represents students who are on or above grade level. And if you progress to the right, students who are in red are 3 or more grade levels below, according to iReady. Below the bar graph, that's what I really want you to focus on, is you will see the exact amount of students who have grown from our first assessment in the fall to our most recent assessment in the winter. We decreased the number of students in our lowest group from 4 to 3, and we increased the number of students in our highest group from 113 to 233 students achieving at or above grade level. Here is the same quadrant graph, but for math. You will notice that our students are not performing as well as we are in reading, but still the average of our students are still in the high performance and high growth area. But because our math areas are a bit lower than our reading scores, we are making that pretty much our focus at Reed. This graph shows, this is for math, this graph shows that we have 62% of our students achieving on or above grade level in math. And although these scores are a bit lower in math than reading, we are proud of the growth our students are making. In our lowest 2 areas in red, we had 41 students in the fall, and now we only have 9 students. In our highest area, we had 66 students on or above grade level in the fall, but now we have 140 students at or above grade level. But I also should want to mention something about the iReady assessments, end of year, something about the iReady, which I think is very important. That iReady assesses end of the year skills, which means these scores also reflect how students perform on skills that we have not yet taught. Therefore, we expect much more growth by the end of the year when we have taught the full curriculum. So taking into account our iReady scores, our district initiatives, and where we are with accomplishing our building initiatives, we have comprised several next steps. One, we will analyze the needs and identify interventions specifically for students achieving high performance and low growth in math, because we feel that that's where our data is showing we have the bulk of our students. We will revisit the building and grow time schedule to make it more effective and efficient. We will develop priority standards, which basically helps us hone in on what students are the most important standards that we need to be teaching our students. We will identify and define strategies under context, or we have identified and defined strategies under context. The next step is to learn and apply new strategies. The Building Diversity Committee will continue to conduct cultural proficiency training. We will continue to train our staff on universal supports. We will communicate safety procedures to volunteers and other visitors in our building. We will conduct and analyze the high reliability school survey and develop next steps, and we will also continue to conduct the panorama survey and continue to develop next steps. So those are our next steps as we have it now. So thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
So I'd offer the same, and I think you alluded to the fact that there are students who aren't going to levels that their peers may be, but the building, and you didn't go into specifically what, but it sounds like there are interventions in play. And I guess my question would be, along with the academic interventions, what else is occurring to make sure students who seem to be academically struggling are making gains?
Well, at Reed, we believe in teaching the whole child. So for instance, I'll just give you a couple examples. Our third grade teachers, for instance, they have a growth mindset group as part of their grow time. So we need to dig down to see what is actually preventing our students from showing growth on iReady. It's just one tool. It could work the other way too. We were just discussing that today at a PLC meeting. We have students who are showing high growth in iReady, but then other indicators show that they aren't as high as what they show. So it can work the other way. But the students that you're referring to, we're trying to figure out what the root of the issue is. Is it really a lack of skills, or is it confidence? Is the environment? Is it the tool itself? If they're not showing it, so we kind of drill that down and try to. And sometimes it's lack of better words, kind of an experiment to see, finally looking at other data to see what was working for that child.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Chris.
Hi.
Hello.
I am really impressed with especially both the quadrants, but then the slide after each quadrant graph where you're showing kind of the number of students in the red that have decreased and the number of students in the green that have increased. That's really extremely impressive. And it's really, your interventions are working. You know, all of the, kind of things that we've been talking about, from enrichment and support to social emotional learning to figuring out what's happening at home, and all of the things that contribute to what is happening in that child's mind the day they're taking the test. It's a moment in time. So I'm super impressed with everything you've presented tonight, and I know Peter is the biggest Reed fan, but I am also a big Reed fan, and this is really great data. So thank you so much for sharing everything tonight.
Thank you.
My question was, I'm not familiar with Reed Universal Supports. Could you just please explain that a little bit more, and then even to provide an example how, with what Pablo mentioned, if that then fits into those students where it is a little bit more of a search to find that root cause?
Yeah, so universal supports are just things you have in place so that it makes everybody successful. So in a classroom, it may be you have your daily schedule on the board. It reduces anxiety. Students know what's coming next. It could have procedures and routines on how to line up when they're going to or transition from one lesson or from one area of the classroom to the other. It's everything you have in place. You go to the airport, there's signage and so forth like that. Those are universal supports. Is Stephanie Chappie here today? Oh, she is. We've been working really closely with Stephanie Chappie over the last couple of years and she's done some presentations with our administrators, with teacher groups over best practices. Many of those she's gotten from some of the Marzano research as well. At Reed, we wanted to take it a little step further. We adopted those, of course. Those are research and best practices, but what does it look like at Reed? What do we at Reed need to have? What is it? Some of those are global statements, but what are the specific things at Reed? So we made a list of things that we at Reed feel that should be in every building or every classroom. For instance, our voice level volumes. We do something called zones of regulation at school. We have BIS lessons and restorative practice lessons that we teach that are specific to our students. And it not only helps with our new hires coming in, kind of having a list, a checklist, kind of go through to make sure I have all these things in place, but it also is a reminder to our veteran staff. I mean, there's a lot on teachers' plates and it's hard to remember everything. But then we've added to it too. It's not just universals as far as best practices on behavior management and best teaching practices, but now we're adding on to it from a safety standpoint. What are those safety things that we need to have in place also that every classroom? So we're trying to take the guesswork out and going to high reliability schools. If you think about the term high reliability, it's something that's going to be in place regardless if I'm the principal or somebody else is the principal or if such and such is the teacher or who else it comes after. We have to have a system in place that it's going to be reliable for a long time and sustainable. So that's what we're working on.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was going to just highlight a few other people, and we've heard them in both presentations, but Tiffany, where's Tiffany Taylor, and then Jen Rizmi. I think you should feel proud of your work because as you hear these presentations, No Place for Hate is embedded, and that wouldn't happen without your work revolving around that. I think also, Layla, we had a lot of conversations in the beginning of the year, but I think, how Grow Time has really taken on a new life. And I will give the teachers and the leadership all the credit in the world, but, that shows some, connectivity between, the administrative center. And when we're hearing things, we're running them past our principals. You all have to deliver it. But it takes a team, and so I really appreciate that. And then there's one other component I wanted to mention, and you mentioned Stephanie Chappie several times. I had not seen the sensory data. You hadn't shared that with me yet, and that was really impressive with those sensory rooms. And I know that Marissa knows this, and I know Keisha knows this. I don't know if any other board members were at the LEF grant funding, but we are funding some more rooms through LEF for those sensory rooms because we need to share that with LEF because that's some incredible data. So I was really appreciative that you shared that. So thank you.
I'd offer just because I think we build upon successes. Lane Navarez had a sensory room in this district 12, 13 years ago, and it really made a difference for those students at Conway then. So I'm glad we've kind of been able to follow up on some of those opportunities because it really does make a difference for especially kids who are struggling the most. And I would offer, I bet some staff have popped in those rooms as well because it's a good break for us too. So I appreciate that.
That is true.
Any other questions for Dr. Schreiner and his team? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Big
Reed
shout out
family.
to our staff who stayed late and also just our staff in general. We have a wonderful staff at Reed. Thank you.
If you guys want to go.
You guys want to go.
I mean, you did make it this far. There's just more exciting stuff to come.
Early mornings with their kiddos.
Yes.
Let them go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
I mean, nobody wants to stay for the calendar conversation? That's like the most exciting. The most exciting.
said he started this feeling feverish.
All right.
I had lunch with him. If he has the flu.
Tonight I'm bringing before the board a calendar amendment for the 25-26 calendar. This was a calendar that was approved under you all with Dr. Zielinski. Our high school team noticed at the beginning of the year that Monday, May 4th was scheduled to be a teacher workday. And they realized that AP testing is offered the first 2 weeks of May. The AP tells each school what test has to fall on each day. And so there's a high likelihood that Monday, May 4th will be an AP test that our students would need to take. So rather than create a situation where we're asking our AP students to come in when no one else is, we decided instead that to change Monday, May 4th into a student contact day. And then school is going to end for students 1 day earlier. So we're moving the end date to Wednesday, May 27th. Teachers will still go until May 29th to fulfill their 188-day contract. But this is the proposed change for 25-26. Are there any questions? All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Macy? We haven't seen you a lot tonight. Come back up.
Good evening again. So as they get the presentation loaded, and we will move through the presentation because many of the slides the board has already seen, but we have actually added some additional information since we've talked last about the admin center. We had a very productive meeting with the Finance and Facilities Committee on February 6th, and I really look forward to some great dialogue this evening. We had Keisha there, we had Peter there, and we had Marissa there. And we really did receive some valuable feedback from our committee. One key component to our committee is that we have several new members, and I say new. They jumped onto the committee right around the time I came to the district, approximately 4 years ago. But we actually have some committee members that have been there a significant amount of time. One in particular is Sean Carr. And he was able to provide us some insight into some of the planning and some of the conversations that actually began back in 2018, 2019, when this conversation began about the admin center. So we'll run through the slides, we'll run through the agenda, and at any point in time, please, Keisha, Peter, and Marissa, jump in and share what you heard from the committee. But the admin center, we did take everyone that showed up to the meeting on a tour. It was very eye-opening for many of them. What we've been doing the past several years is we've been meeting at the buildings to review the construction and to celebrate the facilities. And we've had meetings at Spady, we've had meetings at the middle school, we've had meetings here at the high school. But we did take this as an opportunity to broaden everyone's view of the admin center outside of the circular previous boardroom. And it was very eye-opening for them. We do want to talk tonight, too, about Bond Architects and the 2019 study that actually took place as part of the planning for Prop L. Some of the whys, why did we have that discussion back then? What happened, what did the proposed admin center look like, and then ultimately we know that at that point in time we decided not to move forward with the construction of a new admin center. Then last year, through the Finance and Facilities Committee, we did update the facilities master plan. We're actually moving forward with several of the projects from the master plan, including some of the safety film that we started at the beginning of the year, a lot of the technology infrastructure, the audiovisual equipment in the classrooms at Reed and Conway, as well as the internet infrastructure. So again, as part of that exercise, we did engage BRS, our consultant, to kind of work through a rough square footage assessment and a scope of what a ballpark cost would be if we were looking at a new admin center. And then ultimately, the funding, should we get to that point where we're ready to move forward, we want to make sure that we understand the accounting and where those dollars will come from. I almost skipped it. So there's the original admin center right there. You can see it located on 30 Point Acres at Ladue Middle School. You know, we have received feedback that we do appreciate that location and being located right there in the center of the Ladue community and close to the middle school, close to Conway and close to the high school. It does provide some accessibility and some opportunity for buses in the morning, the afternoon, and just kind of visiting the schools. The picture there is the former boardroom. It is too small for present day standards. When you look at our meeting tonight, or you look at any of our recognition opportunities, that boardroom is not conducive to that type of atmosphere and celebrating our community and celebrating our staff and students. You know, I have never witnessed a board meeting in that environment, but I believe that we have some board members that have experienced some of those, and you know, the stories I hear are not like any that I've ever heard before.
We made great use of our space.
We definitely maximize the space. I will agree with you, Keisha. So this timeline is something that you know, I want to go back to January because I think we talked a little bit about this timeline, and I can't remember if we added the 2018-19 portion to this, but that is really a key component because I don't think we've had significant dialogue collectively as a full board outside of the committee about that work that took place in 18 and 19. But just as a quick recap, you know, 18-19, we facilitated a study, the district facilitated a study. 23-24, the Finance and Facilities Committee met, you know, to update the facilities plan after completing, rough math, approximately $227 million worth of construction since 2018, which is remarkable if you think about that, not just from a square footage amount, but from a total dollar amount. And then from there, we talked to the board in June at the board retreat to not only update the board on the updated facilities plan, but to revisit the idea that the opportunities that a new admin center would present. And we looked at that point in time, we talked about purchasing another building, looking for real estate within the community. We also talked about building a new building. We talked about renovating the existing building and then creating an addition, and really just started the conversation as to what could we do. We circled back to that in January at the finance workshop. It was our primary topic and our primary focus, and what we discussed at that point in time was reaching out to our Finance and Facilities Committee, soliciting some feedback from the community and beginning that conversation, you know, not just with the Board of Education, but outside and kind of broadening our audience and bringing additional people into the conversation. So I'm not going to read this, but this is just an excerpt from the bond study that we found. You know, we had spoken about previous work that had been completed. Mike Noonan was able to reach out to bond architects and resurface some of the materials that we're going to review tonight. But essentially, the study started as part of the facilities master planning for Prop L. So it was part of the overall scope of the work and part of the project at the beginning of that initial planning phase in 2018. You know, another part that was eye-opening and you know, Mr. Carr really was able to provide some perspective for us on this topic in particular. It was the evaluation of the existing building. So we elected not to do a majority of the work that's on this list. I think we have completed some roof work though, Mike, is that correct? But the other work here, the ADA accessibility, the building is not meet current ADA standards. The only way to go into the lower part of the building, which is the business office where our benefits are located, where our staff needs to work with Nancy Edwards and working with their benefits, is to actually enter through the door at the lower level. So there is no opportunity to enter on the main level and then get to that lower level. So we look at that, and you know, I do want to remind everyone these are 2018 prices. You know, Bond did put in there at the bottom with that asterisk that a 5% inflationary factor should be added annually to estimated costs. In 2018, that was conservative. You know, we saw increases 25% through COVID. We did work through that through Prop L. So these numbers are truly those numbers from 18. We'll talk a little bit about playing that 5% out, but even with that 5%, we do think that there's probably going to be increased costs to complete some of this work. Fire suppression, is that me? Fire suppression, fire alarm, mechanical, those are things that we still haven't done. You know, the HVAC, when you look at that, a lot of the offices have individual units. You know, especially in the basement area there, and I know Dr. Whipke's office has an individual unit as well as Barb Meyer's office too. So when we look, this thing is sensitive. So when we look at the total amount of those additions are addressing those systems, and we look at the renovation space, upgrading the lighting, the LED. Back then, we were looking at about $2.3 million. So this is what the original design looked like. This was the second floor of a wing at the middle school. Again, I don't know, you know, Keisha, you were part of the Prop L foundational planning. And you know, we had some discussion about this in terms of where that location was. Was it intended to be in that area where the storm shelter is located now? Or
It was intended, you're asking me a question, I'm trying to picture where is the storm shelter, but it was actually, like, if you think about where it currently is, kind of coming out of that hill at that second level of the middle school. And that far, I guess that would be northwest corner of the building.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be, and there was two different versions. I know this was one, but it was kind of like almost adjacent to part of connected to the middle school on that back corner, similar to its current location.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that input. And, you know, doing it as part of the Prop L work would have provided an opportunity in real time, one, to appreciate the costs, you know, of 3 to 4 years ago, but it would have also softened some of the mobilization, some of the contractor requirements, some of the general conditions, some of those things. And I want to say that the number on that, if it's not on the next slide, I think I have a number on my head. There we go. The number on that would have been approximately $5.5 million. So again, those are 2018 costs. This estimate was for a structure that would support administration that was approximately 20,380 square feet. So at that point in time, it was $270 a square foot. We have recently updated that projection of what we think would be great space, which is 24,000. But again, those are rough numbers, and we do have opportunity to scale those back should we get to that point where we're ready to enter the design phase. So when we look at Bond's methodology and we look at how those numbers play out, and I'm sorry that second to last slide up there is carried over kind of funny there, but when we look at the renovation, the cost was about $2.3 million in 2019-20, and if we play that 5% out through 25-26, renovations would be approximately 3.1. New construction for 20,000 square feet would have started at that 5.5 million, and that would have played out to the 7.3 million. And that is with that 5%. The numbers that we've tabulated for a new building that BRS has presented us with is closer to 10 million. And that 10 million would represent that significant bump that we experienced through the COVID years. So when we look at the new administrative center and we look at the why, we saw what the study presented itself in 2018, the ADA accessibility, the fire suppression, the fire alarm, the mechanical HVAC. One thing that we didn't see on there was the plumbing. It's a constant battle working through some of the plumbing scenarios at the admin center. But we look at where we are today. Right now, we're in beautiful space. We're in an incredible space. But this is a space that, if we weren't here, could be occupied by students even longer than they occupied it today. This is an incredible space, but when we look at it from a safety and security perspective, it really isn't safe and secure. I mean, we're fortunate enough to have our partners from Ladue that support us, through the board meetings. But realistically, in this day and age, it would be ideal for us to have a safe location, to have a dedicated boardroom where we're not taking up resources from our students in real time. The other thing that we're constantly working through is technology. We are working constantly with Dr. Brown and her team and trying to ensure we have Wi-Fi and trying to ensure that we have the proper, infrastructure. I know that we have some scenarios on the first floor where the ceiling has a concrete base, and it's tough for us to get some of the equipment mounted and worked in there. The other thing that we do at the admin center is we host the district server. So hosting the district server, when the district server goes down, Mike and his team have to bring a generator up, and then we have to hook that generator up. We have to fire that generator up and get it going. So we really don't have what I would say is the ideal location for that, or the necessary backup that we need in order to keep the district up and running.
To that point around IT, where are the majority of IT folks housed?
Here.
Right. I think to your point, right, that IT, there's a significant server, et cetera, and that yet that team isn't close to that either.
No, I appreciate that point for sure. And education now, the technology support is essential to the day. So if we get that alert that the internet's down, then the phones are blowing up and everybody's trying to get Mike's crew out there with the generator. We're trying to get Patricia's crew out there to make sure that everything's set up once we get the power going. But we do think we can do better in terms of providing a safe and secure space. And that was actually one of the things that, I'll say I thought about it, but having some committee members that are in the IT world, they were a little uncomfortable with it. They were like, ooh, this is not 2025 standards in terms of securing your server and making sure that everything is where it needs to be. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me. 24,000 square feet, and again, we could go south of that based off of some of the square footage and looking at how big is this office? Do we have community space versus a 160 square foot office? So that number could go down as we look at it, but that would bring all the departments together. So not only do we have technology at the high school, but we have curriculum and instruction at the 5th grade center. So we have administrators scattered throughout the district.
Dr. Macy, one of the bullets over on the left that just caught my eye is the safety and security enhancements, which, just like you said, is to address kind of even in this space right here. I know I have a bad habit of asking questions that are addressed in later slides, so just tell me if that's the case right now. But for this, is it just a building like this has so many points of access, whereas then when you do have something like a public board meeting, you want to have more controlled access? Or I guess I'm just a little curious in terms of even an event like tonight, how it would be different in a new space.
Well, I mean, when you look at this space, right now there is myriad of activities that are going on. So when you see people enter this room, they could be coming from over there, they could be coming from over there, they could come in the door that we leave open over here. We have people upstairs. So, you know, it's a scenario that we're working through at the high school, just ensuring that we're doing the proper protocols here. But from a board meeting perspective, we could provide a centralized location. We could implement an open gate system. We could utilize our Ladue partner, the SRO. They could greet people as they come in. So it would provide us an opportunity to kind of narrow that entry point and fully understand, you know, who is coming in and who is attending the meetings.
Okay, thank you.
You can just see Officer Eaton just did his rounds, making sure that no doors were propped and all of that, so.
The, you know, freeing up the space at the fifth grade center, we could reconfigure that space. Another point that was made by our committee members is that we could reallocate and redefine that space for students by moving those administrators all together. The other thing that we could do is create a dedicated professional learning space for staff. One thing that we've talked about is that the boardroom wouldn't really be the boardroom all day, every day. It would be a space big enough to hold groups like we saw tonight, but we would want to embed some flexibility, maybe with some partitions where you could have either one big learning space for staff, or you could divide it into two and have multiple learning spaces for staff. And what we see a lot is you know, when there's a PD day, we're going to use all the space we can. But if Dr. Crabtree is pulling staff out, or doing something with a particular curriculum group or a particular grade level, this would give us the opportunity to actually host that and facilitate that. The other thing I would say too is we've hosted several events in our PAC. You know, the FBI training is one thing that I could think of, but you know, when we look at Ladue as a district, we are number one. And it would be incredible to invite people in to share what we're doing here and to celebrate our staff and have our staff be the leader of the pack in the region and have the opportunity to have a space where we could actually facilitate some professional learning here at Ladue. Any questions so far?
Maybe not a question as much as, I mean, I think to your point, to your presentation, it's the fact is the space is antiquated for 2025 learning for the adults as much as what we've done for kids over a number of years. And whether it's you know, plumbing upgrades and things that can be addressed is one piece, but we're talking about what IT needs, we're talking about what adult learners need in order to learn effectively and grow effectively to provide for kids. And the space, to your point earlier, it's not only is it antiquated, it's just the physical plant can't be adjusted more than it has been. There's been significant work. I mean, we had our own carpenters who would completely redo spaces to make it feasible for folks. So we've done everything. I would offer, the team has done everything that can occur to make the space viable. And there's a point where to grow human beings, to grow leaders, and whether that's 5-year-olds or 45-year-olds, that space won't do it anymore. And it's not for lack of trying decade after decade to do so. Because I will tell you, I was very upfront in saying, how is this good for kids and the learning of all, and not just pretty new spaces? And we really, I think, have articulated by virtue of stakeholder input as well, that the space is not safe, it's not productive, and it's not what we need for our leaders to continue to grow. So I appreciate what you've given thus far, but I think you've really shown us that the space isn't going to do what we need it to do for the health of the district.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment, Pablo, and you know, I do want to share one comment that one of our committee members made that you know, really generated consensus and a lot of head nods, and you know, for the past 4 years and probably even before I got here, I feel like that committee has discussed projects and determined priorities and said, you know, this looks good, this is something we need to do, but one committee member said thank you for not bringing this topic to us until we completed the $226 million worth of construction for our students. and there was a lot of gratitude there, and there was a lot of understanding, and the general consensus was, that committee believes we need to do something. Now, I don't know that we've completely ironed out what that something is, but at least I felt pretty good, and I'll let the board and Dr. Whipke weigh in, but I felt like the committee was definitely of the mindset that we need to move forward and do something.
To echo what you said, and Pablo, what you offered, that we are sitting in an amazing future-ready space, and all of our buildings have been touched in some way. But as you alluded to, we have adult learners too, and the fact that we can't get, our whole second grade from the whole district into one space that's not at the high school is problematic. It requires travel, it requires the displacement of other people. This also affords us an opportunity to be a leader in the region, to bring together people from other communities, other school districts, and I'm probably jumping ahead to one of your future slides just because I was at the meeting, so we talked about this already, but that we can really be a convener and bringing people together to talk about legislative issues, to, host meetings for the Special School District Governing Council, all of the things that everyone's involved in outside of sitting at this table, we have to go elsewhere to do. So I think being able to say we are the ones who can bring people together just adds to the need for this, and also to kind of the potential.
So that takes us back to the assessment. What we have on there is we and this is the second time that we will have aired this presentation, so it's part of the public record. Not only is this meeting, but also is the Finance and Facilities meeting. I won't go into it, but that includes the dimensions as well as the estimates. So that's a breakdown of what we ask BRS to do in terms of saying, okay, maybe an assistant superintendent office is 160 square feet, and there's community learning space or congregating space per department, and it really kind of breaks it down by that. Again, nothing is etched in stone. This isn't even a design. This is more of a concept. And with that concept, we saw that they went ahead and included things like food service director. So we know that we don't really need a food service director or a food service department at the admin center. We want to facilitate that here, where the majority of our students are, and our partners from Chartwell, they have a significant amount of their resources here that actually go to other buildings. So it wouldn't make sense for some of those scenarios. So that's why I say that 24,000, we think we could come down. The other thing too is engaging an architect provides an opportunity to look at different spaces. So earlier today, we talked about the spaces at Old Bonham and the flexibility and the opportunity to have the flex area and to have the wet lab. Realistically, when you look at office space nowadays, it's very similar to that. If you look at my carpet, you can see that I wear a little space. I mean, in my office, I'm in a very small space. I don't need a ton of space in my office, but it's nice to have an area to meet with 5 or 6 people or to bring the department together. So it's really ironing out the differences in the spaces and how you facilitate your day and how you host your meetings and go about your business. So again, those are just very, very raw, very canned, but it does provide us an opportunity to get to that 24,000 square feet. So financially, I don't know if I made that switch, but if I did, it was perfect timing. How could we make this happen? We have worked over the past couple years to transfer funds to complete projects from Prop L. So the first one was a window project at Reed and Conway. It was originally part of Prop L. We took it out of the prop based off of the numbers that we experienced through the bidding with all the other work. We were fortunate to be able to transfer from the fund balance to capital projects to complete that project. From an accounting perspective, and we talk about this all the time, it's really interesting to me, but it does provide us, the state does provide us the opportunity to make fund transfers Historically, Ladue had not done that, so they let us go back 5 years and make up to 5 years worth of transfers. So we almost got caught up, but we haven't gotten completely caught up. So we would have a transfer left from 23-24. We would have a transfer this year, 24-25, of that 1.7 million, which is our allowable transfer. And then the other thing that we would do is levying a dime in our capital projects fund provides us the opportunity at about $2.3 million annually. Now, what I will say is this is a reassessment year, so that number could tick up just a little bit based off of where our assessed valuation flushes out. But then that would leave one transfer in 25-26, and that would leave us with approximately $9.9 million. The number that we don't have included in that 9.9 would be any interest that we earn in Fund 4, because even when we transfer the windows, last summer we transferred the money for the West Campus field reconfiguration with the tennis courts and the parking lot at the high school. So while that money goes from Fund 1 to Fund 4, it does collect interest in Fund 4. So that number could actually grow a little bit. So, questions?
I just tag on to I was at obviously the facilities and finance, and we definitely had a charge, if you will, from the facilities and finance to look at two different routes, right? To look at the real estate route still, is there a building out there that we can renovate? But then to also start to consult with an architectural firm to get some harder numbers on building a new building on site.
I'd offer this as well, that our neighbors to the east, SLPS, is literally paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain empty buildings. So in that opportunity, again, I think we look at them both, but there's still a building something would have to happen to that building to keep it safe, even if we were using it. So I think there's a piece, and we'll find if there's a piece of realty that's viable, et cetera, but there's still in that space we have to maintain, either raising it or doing something with it so it's safe and moving forward. And so that will be an additional cost we'd have to look at. Although I think we talked about exploring both concerns or opportunities.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what you said, Jim. I think that the voice of the committee was that we do explore both options. And I think that as we move forward, looking at both of those options, that what works, what we need and what is in our best interest will rise to the top. But I think that we do have a due diligence to explore and see what's out there in our footprint, and then move forward accordingly.
For the architect that we would retain to kind of lead us through the initial design and the feasibility, is that just for the space? Do they also, if we decided to move forward with an on-campus build, do they then help with that process where if you put it here, this is your parking requirement, this is to meet all code, if it's an area that currently is permeable, this is what MSD is going to require? Or is that a separate sort of engagement once, to help us choose the location, and then the architect comes in and says, based on the location, this is what we look at?
So that's a great question. And knowing that the charge is to continue to explore real estate, but also explore the idea of a new build or a renovation and a building addition. I've had to do a little bit of research on the topic, and what I've found out is completing an RFP and clarifying our potential needs would provide them an opportunity to share their qualifications based off of the three different scenarios that I just talked about, as well as provide line item costs. So when we look at the billing for Prop L, there was a huge portion of, I can't remember, it was maybe $8 million that we paid in architect fees, but 5.9 was completely spent before the first day I walked in here. And that was truly the design part. So there's going to be a design percentage, there's going to be a contract management percentage, there's going to be a closeout percentage. So, you know, what we could do is we could issue an RFP with the multiple options that we see, and we can even provide some flexibility and engage that professional firm to kind of help us with the idea that if we do see, you know, a particular building, you know, we looked at a building and we knew right out of the gates that if we were going to do anything with it, we were going to have to add sprinklers. So those are going to be the key components of truly understanding, is there, you know, is it cost effective to move into an existing building based off of any life safety that you have to address and or any renovations that we need to do to address the idea that we need to have that board meeting opportunity.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Macy.
Thank you.
You probably have to come right back up. I don't know if you have policies. All right, board policy updates.
Okay, I have the
Let you guys choose what order you go in.
I have the first one, and I know we've been here a while, so I will kind of speed this process up a little bit, but I have B, right? School board ballot issues. And this applies, this policy applies to only certain districts, Clay, Jackson, Jefferson, St. Charles, and St. Louis, or cities with more than 30,000 people. So basically, this is saying that school board elections, you can actually create smaller voting areas. I would assume that is for larger districts, though. It's not going to really impact us at all, but they obviously have had to change and alter this policy. So what they do is school boards can now create smaller voting areas, or what they call subdivisions, for electing board members. Either the school board or district voters can start this process. It'll begin in 26, 27. The schools must have at least, again, this is for new school calendar rules. We are familiar with this. Where's Layla? Layla's very familiar with this, but schools must have at least 169 school days unless voters approve a shorter calendar, right? And so if you're wanting to go shorter, you got to get a voter approval, which flows into the 4-day weeks. So if you're a school district that's considering a 4-day school week, which we are not, the district must still at least have 142 days, school days. Districts wanting a shorter calendar, though, they need to go and get voter approval within the next 2 years. So that's a component of this policy. Tax levy ballot issues. There's now a process for residents to vote on removing a tax fund for student transportations for those who normally don't qualify. So if you have an extra tax to pick up kids that normally don't qualify in the policy, you can have, voters can take that tax off. That doesn't really apply to us either. And then it goes into how to change the school district's name. Boards can propose a name change. You need at least 20 residents to object and sign a petition. The name change goes to a public vote. So that's not really impacting us either, but that's basically the summary of what the changes are and why there's a need for the changes. So we're asking for approval. Okay. Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not.
Tonight.
It's just information. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. And then I have a B, a D, C, which is closed meeting records. And so this is connected to Missouri Sunshine Law, and it's the change to Missouri Sunshine Law under House Bill 2111. And here's what it does. Basically, it gives it's asking the state auditor for more oversight, right? So the state auditor now has more power to investigate school districts and government bodies for misconduct, fraud, waste, and mismanagement. The definition of improper governmental activity is very broad, so school districts should expect more state audits, especially if the community members file complaints. Another component is changes to the Sunshine Law, public record, and meetings. Normally, government records and meetings must be open to the public, but this law adds a new reason to keep some records private. Kind of gets into that. but specifically records related to reports of misconduct can now be kept confidential. This part of the law is likely meant to protect complaints made by the state auditor, but it could also apply to school districts. The component to foster care confidentiality, but this policy also reinforces that information about foster care placements should remain confidential. And then finally, updating legal references. This policy has also been updated to include new legal references that align with this revised law. So that's information for you again, and we'll be bringing it back to you at the next board meeting for approval.
All right, I have the next policy, DFI-2. This is about setting tuition for district programs. So MSBA is suggesting that we remove some policy that is no longer relevant. Removing this and looking at the state statute, now there's only a very narrow subset of property owners that are eligible to send non-resident students to the district. So a couple things to look at there. One, the family must reside in the same county. So now they would have to provide proof of residency that they actually live in St. Louis County. They would have to provide proof that they paid a minimum of $2,000 in school taxes, school district levied on that property. And then the other thing is there is a 4 consecutive years clause too that now narrows that subset even more. So essentially they would have to have a minimum of $8,000 in taxes invested in the school district. So our recommendation would be to accept it as is, but this is information only tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Very stylish presentation.
We're lined up and ready to go.
Yep.
Okay, so I have the next policy, and it is professional staff compensation. Senate Bill 727, as we all know, there's a teacher shortage. We're not feeling it as much here, but this was really put into place so the teachers could be paid differently on the teacher salary schedule, which is interesting. But it's for hard-to-staff schools or hard-to-staff subject areas. So, and it has a definition of what those are. But remember last year, whenever we were trying to find chemistry, right? And we were able to go through the war waiver and able to hire a retired chemistry teacher. So they're trying to just find some different ways to fill, I think, some of these spots that are out there where they can't find teachers. So this actually I don't think is really an issue with us because we do give full years of experience, whereas some districts don't. And so I think this I don't think will pertain to us right now, but we are recommending to go ahead and put it in. There's also through Senate Bill 727, there is a minimum amount that they're requiring for a teacher salary schedule. I've double-checked, triple-checked. Hours are definitely fine at this point. There is some current legislation out there, which I think will put a cap on some of this, which might be good because this could catch up in the years down the road, which I'm not sure they thought about. So anyway, so that is, we are good on both of those, and I do recommend these to be next time to have them approved as recommended. Any questions on mine? Thank you.
My first one is policy IC2, which is also about the academic calendar, as Dr. Whipke just mentioned, and again is requiring a 169-day school calendar. We are never below 173 days, and we're well above the 1,044 hours. So we'll be recommending this to be adopted as written. Any questions?
Can I just add, and I know that's not on policy, but I think it's important for the board, there is talk about with the legislation that if you do have inclement weather and you drop below 169 days, that would void that requirement for 169 days. So they think that that was just a kind of an error and they missed that one. So hopefully that'll get changed.
My next one is policy IGBI. This is recognizing the right of families to homeschool their children. Families are able to use vouchers towards homeschooling, and families can provide a written declaration to school districts to avoid any truancy notifications from the district. Again, we're not really in the process of denying homeschooling families, they usually let us know, we code the student as such, and move on.
This is just more of like a mechanics question that has zero to do with us. But aren't vouchers typically issued by ESAs and then therefore, and which are usually governed under like religious organizations? And so then is it up to homeschooling families to make contact to then receive a voucher?
Yes, it says the vouchers can be used obviously for tuition for private schools, but also for homeschooling families for curriculum, educational therapies, tutors, test fees, and other educational expenses.
Okay. Yeah, that has nothing to do with us, but I was just curious how that mechanically works. But thank you.
So again, we'll recommend this to be adopted as written. Our next one is policy IGCD about virtual courses. Basically, this is providing more protections around students and families choosing to opt into virtual education. This states that districts cannot deny a student to participate in virtual schooling just based on the fact that they're not a fan of virtual schooling, or they cannot deny a student in participating from an approved MOCAP provider just because they provide, or they prefer one vendor over another. The district must deliver a decision to families within 10 days. If we do deny a student, have maybe only denied one student from virtual schooling at this point, and basically it's because the student had tried it. We only denied if the educational team believes it's not in the best interest of student. We always allow students to try virtual schooling, and if they do not make passing grades, then that's the only time we would invoke our right to recommend to the family that the student not continue. Families under this revision of this policy are able to appeal to the school board to overturn the district's decision, and the school board has 30 days to give the families that decision. And then the other piece, which is optional for school districts, but after discussion with some of the board members and with Dr. Whipke, we are going to allow virtual students that are residents of Ladue School District that participate in virtual schooling. They will be able to participate in extracurricular activities. This MISHA right now does not allow students to participate if they are not part of the Ladue School District. So there's two different types of MOCAP options. There are hosted programs, so like Launch is an example of a hosted program. That's when a student ceases to become a student of the Ladue School District and they become a member of the Springfield Public School District. Springfield then collects the money for that student attending Springfield. So MISHA does not allow students that are not part of the Ladue School District to participate in activities. However, a non-hosted provider would be an example of like Edgenuity. Those students are still considered to be students of the Ladue School District, even though they don't step foot in our schools. And so they would have the option to participate in both MISHA sports and in extracurricular activities. And so we will be doing a little bit of amending to this policy that just explicitly states that students, whether they're homeschooled or virtual, as long as they are residents of our district, they may participate in extracurriculars. And then the final, I have two more. IGCDA is again around full-time MOCAP virtual courses. Again, this policy changes are just providing more latitude to families to be able to choose virtual education. Now students can enroll directly with a provider without seeking the school district approval. That's for a hosted program. You see the options up there of what are currently provided as hosted programs. They're putting more onus though now on the host district. So the host district has the responsibility of ensuring that the student has established residency in their home district. They also, if the student has an IEP, then it's the host district's responsibility to initiate the IEP process. They have to inform the district, the home district, if the student unenrolls. And then again, this also provides provisions for extracurricular opportunities, saying that students are allowed to participate in their home district's extracurricular activities. So that will again be accepted with slight amendments clarifying that extracurricular activity section. And then my last policy is policy IKF. This is language that we are choosing to remove. These are our graduation requirements. Currently, at some point along the way, we added some language that said that students must complete at least 2 credits in person at Ladue High School in order to receive a Ladue High School a Ladue High School diploma. At the time, this was around the idea of transfer students. Students had to transfer in and take at least 2 classes. With the changes in the MOCAP laws, we really aren't able to enforce this anymore. We will have students graduating with a Ladue High School diploma that never step foot in Ladue High School. That's the way the laws are written currently for MOCAP, and so we're going to remove the language. If you scroll down, Fern or Patricia, it's further down in that section, but we'll be removing the part about must be in person. There we go. Any questions? Yeah.
So which words are coming out?
That entire section in red will be removed.
So does it make sense to say, to avoid if there was a transfer who, so the two, there's, I guess, would it make sense to make a loophole, not a loophole, but something that honors the MOCAP language, but then also makes clear that it would have to be a student that transferred in and went to a Ladue accepted virtual program such as, or there's no, you don't, like what was the initial, could someone technically transfer in and take less than a semester? I mean, how would that work, how they would graduate? When this was first originated, I know you wouldn't really, we don't have probably, Mr. Coppola would maybe know.
My guess is that they transferred in second semester, and so the idea that they had to have at least 2 credits.
So if they came in and had all but 1 class, then that wouldn't be a Ladue graduate.
Right.
I don't know. I think it probably will never come up. But there may, yeah. So, okay, good. Thank you for saying that, because I was like thinking maybe I'm just wasting everyone's time right now. Maybe there's a thought to making it sort of both.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll look into that before the next board meeting.
One of the things I noticed in red that's being taken out is from an accredited institution. So if this student comes from presumably a district that has lost its accreditation and then no longer has, I mean, I guess so, if that's the law, then, then this is not the correct forum to try and push back against it. But is that, I guess, is there any sort of guardrail to the quality of education this person received in having a Ladue diploma in their hand? Or is it simply they could?
It's a good idea to maybe keep the language around an accredited institution while also adding or an approved MOCAP provider to specify, because at least, MOCAP has some guardrails around what virtual programs will be accepted. And so I think so the piece that really just needs to come out is the completing at least 2 credits at Ladue Horton Watkins High School.
Okay, thank you.
And we just talked about homeschooling in terms of virtual, or in terms of accreditation. So, but we don't really create parameters around that. So if I came as a second semester senior, after being homeschooled, this still wouldn't apply, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And I think a student, if they transferred in senior year, they're either taking courses, here at the high school, or they're taking them virtually. So it's really just the piece about having to be in person at Ladue High School. All right, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I have 3 policies. The first one is JEA, compulsory and part-time attendance. This is a policy that was just put together, updated for clarity and to conform and comply with legal changes under the Senate Bill 727 and House Bill 2287. The bills created the term FPE, which is a family-paced education, which is basically a homeschool that receives the public funds through the state tax credit program. It basically expanded the definition of homeschooling to distinguish homeschools that accept vouchers, the FPE for what Layla was talking about, for curriculum, educational therapies, tutors, and test fees, and other educational expenses, which gives homeschooling parents options to avoid investigations for educational neglect. It doesn't change anything for us, really, just basically tells us how parents can meet education requirements. So recommending that we approve it as presented by MSBA. Next time. Any questions? The next policy I have is JED, student absences and excuses. This policy, again, was updated to mirror the language in the statute. Excuses student absences due to mental or behavioral health concerns and prohibits students' grades from being lowered due to these absences. Redefines requirements for districts to report educational neglect, requiring districts to report educational neglect when there is reasonable cause to suspect that a student's lack of attendance is due to the parent's educational neglect, which is more consistent with the state statute. Again, doesn't really impact us. So next time, would recommend that we accept this as presented by MSBA. Questions? Okay, the last policy I have is JHDF, suicide awareness and prevention. This one expanded the requirements for schools to print non-emergency telephone numbers of the local police department and crisis hotlines on identification cards that are issued to students in grades 7 to 12, starting July 1st, 2025. Our current practice really right now is to post that information on our website. We post it in various places throughout our buildings. We provide cards as part of presentations through CHADS and outside agencies, and also we give the cards to families in crisis. We are now, per this policy, are going to be looking at providing the information to all students. Right now they get Wagner identification cards, so we were going to coordinate that with the cards that they receive. And I've also been in conversation with technology about ways to push this information out to our students directly using their technology device for students in 7 through 12. Also wanted to add district social worker to the list as part of our crisis response team, reflective of our current practice right now. So that one would be next time approving as presented with modifications. Any questions? All right, thank you.
We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Pablo, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Have a good night.